Hi, and welcome to the Crit Hit Wild podcast, where we cover all things Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we do a new character every week. This week, we are talking about Dracula, and I'm your host, Fred.
And I'm Brad, and we are starting on time today.
I'm Brandon. Because of me, I got off early.
Yay! Unfortunately, Steven will not be able to join us today. He is at work, so he has other responsibilities that he has to take care of. But we will catch back up with him next week. We will hopefully get the results of our speculation corner next week.
I'm pretty sure
Which
I was
I
dead
li-
on.
I listened to that episode. I actually could answer all of it.
Oh well, let's let Steven do it.
Yeah.
Let's let Steven answer. This is his thing. But
I just realized that I listened to that though. That was kind of ironic. I didn't think about that until just now.
Well, let's talk about the things that are coming up. AMG released all of the monsters and some tactics cards for them, and we know Dracula's leadership. We are going to talk about all of this in this episode and the coming episodes.
Yeah.
And oh boy,
One character.
it's a lot.
One character per week. That's all you get, guys.
Yeah. We're doing Dracula first, so don't worry. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's talk real quick about events that are coming up. Coming up later this week is a tournament at Fabricators Forge in Pittsburgh. This is a BECC qualifier, and it is going to be an LVO qualifier. So if you are in the area, come on down. It was already at north of 20 participants, I believe, last time I checked. So I'm hoping that it gets pretty full. I will be there. I think everyone from West Virginia is going to be there, except for Michael.
Everyone?
Not Jared.
And well, not Jared. You're correct.
Not
Aaron.
not Aaron.
Aaron
People who
Not
the people who
Noah.
willing
Not
oh boy the people who willingly travel for tournaments, everyone will be there who does that. I guess
It's really
Jared
weird.
does that too.
It's like Michael's not traveling for a tournament in less than a
Yeah,
month.
and Michael's all right. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what I just said. There will be 6 of us traveling to Pittsburgh from West Virginia. How about that as a statement?
that statement's true.
That's
There's
accurate.
22 people registered for the tournament right now.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. Well, then coming up later in October on the 19th is Second Wind in Chicago. That will have myself and Brad and the aforementioned Michael that I snubbed. I'm sorry, Michael.
Apparently, 3 of us going is half of West Virginia.
Yeah. I mean, it's not far from correct. But anyway, let's move on. So we have, before we talk about anything else, let's talk about the tournament that happened. I guess yesterday. I was not present, so I do not have any input to talk about. But Brad, you were there. What happened? Talk us through it.
We had 3 people. Me, Borka, and CJ, who is either not from West Virginia or doesn't exist.
I saw CJ today.
We played a round robin. So I let them play first. Borka beat CJ. CJ was playing Web Warriors. Borka was playing his Kingpin Web Warriors mashup list. Borka beat CJ. I didn't really watch this game. I went and hung out and talked to JB most of the time. So I don't know a lot of details.
I can give a little bit of details about it.
Okay, go ahead, Brandon.
So they played 20 threat. I actually know who they played too, which is really kind of ironic. Borka played Kingpin, Shadowland, Rhino, and then Bullseye, Black Cat, Miles.
Oh man,
There were 2
CJ
miles on the table, so
yeah, and CJ played Miles. All right, this one's a little bit more complicated. There's a lot more models here. Spectacular, Miles, Iceman, Black Cat, 12, and then Gwenum and another 4-point
It
model,
was Ben Riley's the Scarlet Spider.
Scarlet
Hey.
Spider.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was they played that. They played 20 threat. CJ said that like he was there was a pretty good game, that he had a really good all webbed up turn, and then he kind of stopped playing scenario, and then he just got ran away. Then Josh just ran away with it. He kind of tried to start killing things after the all webbed up turn, which stays a couple models. And then I guess like after that, he kind of kept trying to kill them, and then they all were obviously fully powered and just like hit back like a truck, and it just didn't work out for him.
Ah. All right then. I mean, Borka's list is crazy. It's everything that's good about scenario teams. It's all the good scenario pieces.
That's true. Okay. I won
What
my
was round
round.
2?
Yeah, I won my round.
Oh, you won your round against Conversation with JB?
Yep. Second round. So what I told them before it started is that they would play, and then I would play winner, and then I would play loser, and we would just do it
Okay.
that way. Because that gives a round robin. It's for some reason, and should not have done this, paired me against CJ in round 2, and I had to change it, and that was very weird. I don't know why
Huh.
Longshanks did that.
Huh.
That should not have happened. Anyway, I changed it and I played Borka. We played. He won the roll off, so of course we played his secures. I pulled Extremist 2.0, so that's a D that you can pay 1 to heal 1. And he pulled my Paranoia. We played 17 Threat. I played Cyclops, Toad, Logan, Psylocke, X-23. That should be everyone. He played Kingpin, Namor, Rhino, Shadowland Daredevil. He made a comment at the beginning of the game that he probably shouldn't be playing the list he played. And at the end of the game, he specified that Namor probably should have been a 3-pointer and a 2-pointer. So he could be wider. I don't disagree. He still should have had a pretty good advantage in the game because of Kingpin. But some stuff happened at the beginning of the game. So Psylocke on turn 1 left Rhino at 1 health with 1 attack.
Holy moly. Holy moly.
And then turn 2, at the end of the turn, Rhino was back at 1 after healing twice. I think he healed twice. And Namor was at 1 because of Cyclops. And for the rest of the game, Porca had to play around those 2 models that were holding extracts being on 1 health. So he completely fled that side. I also got a spike with Logan on Shadowland Daredevil and flipped him, like really early in the game. Kingpin sat on his home D the whole time. Toad took over guarding home D on mine, and Porker ran from what was my left point and his right point, ran away with Rhino and Namor, and Toad finally dazed Namor, dropped the token, and Porker did everything he could to like heal Rhino and make sure he had enough health because Psylocke was nearby and he wanted him to live through Psylocke. But I just double moved and then used her superpower to go pick up Namor's extract for the win. I didn't even have to roll dice. So
Nice.
he kind of got
So
tunnel vision with making Rhino survive, and I didn't need Rhino to die.
Right, right. So everyone out there, some context. Brad has been on one of the coldest dice streaks in forever, and it seems like this week that has started to turn around.
Uh, kinda. So I had those 3 spikes, and that was it.
Yeah, but they
But that,
happened when you needed them to
yeah,
happen.
but that was enough. And
Yeah.
I've been saying things like, even if I roll average dice, like I can play the game and like do decent. But
Mm-hmm.
if my dice just don't cooperate at all, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Especially with Cyclops, like I have to do some damage. I don't have to. I've played mini games as if Cyclops didn't have a leadership, but it helps if I do some damage and get some extra power.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And then I played CJ. We played. I won initiative, so we played my pay to flips, and we got sword base. And I drew his senators, which I was not happy about. And then he got to pick the threat, and he picked 15. And then after the game, he's like, I forgot that you talk about on the podcast all the time about how much you've played 15. Um, he played his 15's really good though. Miles, Spectacular, Gwen, 3-point Gwen,
Ghost Spider.
Ghost
Yeah.
Spider, yeah,
Okay.
Black Cat, and Iceman.
He's right. That is good. Or
That
you're right. That's
that is a
five
really
threes.
good 15.
That is a good 15.
I played Cyclops, Psylocke, Nightcrawler, 3-point model, right?
Sure. Yeah, you're on a
Uh,
3-point model.
it had to have been X-23
Okay.
because she
Okay.
can move extra. That's who I had to have played. Oh yeah, it was because she fought Miles on a side all by herself. Yeah, her and Miles ended up on one side, my right side, and everyone else ended up on the other side. Iceman was an absolute beast in this game. Unstoppable, did so much damage, did so much extra damage because with sword base he could just stand there. I had to either attack Iceman and daze him or just take slow and then take damage, and I couldn't kill Iceman, which I should have been able to eventually. But I had some. I told CJ I was going to say this because I told him after the game too. There were like 2 to 3 points in the game where CJ should have done scenario, and he chose to make attacks instead, and that absolutely lost him the game. He was trying to daze
Yeah.
characters. He didn't even need to attack. Like one example is Ghost Spider right after she flipped, pulled Nightcrawler off of a point and then double attacked him. But he could have moved on to the point because I had pushed her off earlier, flipped it, and then moved and grabbed the senator. Instead
Instead of doing attacks.
doing attacks, and he didn't do that. And there was another time I can think of where Iceman could have done a bunch of scenario stuff, and he made an attack first and did the hit and run that he has, and then he didn't have enough power to do all the scenario stuff he could, and still could have done something scenario and chose to attack Nightcrawler instead.
Yeah.
So like
I mean, I do this all the time.
Yeah,
This is
he
this is
focused
something I do.
he focused too much on combat and made mistakes, and I capitalized on those. Because there's definitely times when I was thinking in my head, I hope CJ does this so that I can go do scenario stuff, and he won't be able to stop me. And he then inevitably did the thing I wanted him to do, which was attack some models. So like attack Psylocke within range 2. You're probably not doing much damage. And then I can go do scenario stuff. And I ended up winning this 1916. So
All right then. So you won the tournament?
I
2-1?
did. I got 3-0.
Oh, you got 3-0, yeah, because you had a bye.
I did. Doesn't count
Congratulations, Brad.
Doesn't count my record. What felt good was beating Kingpin.
Yes.
That
That always feels good.
rarely happens for me. So
Yeah.
Boo.
I played 2 games against Brad earlier this week. I played against him on Thursday, and our games went both in his favor. And it's because it's like Brad was saying, if he just rolls okay, he's in the game and he can win games. And he rolled okay. That's all it needs to be.
yeah, it was literally the definition of okay.
It was okay. You did okay. And like in the first game, you were kicking my butt. You were like well ahead.
That's where I like to be. I'm an X-Men player.
Yeah, it was rough. So yeah, it's a. I think that Brad, your cold streak is turning around. I think that
hope.
you are gonna
just
go,
in
and it's
time-
happening at just the right time.
Just in time for the double qualifier.
Right. This you're gonna win. You're gonna come in
I'm
first.
not.
You are. I count on you to do it. All right. Let's. I don't remember enough about our games to really talk about them. I remember, Psylocke fought against my Rhino, and I used custom upgrades on my Rhino, and Psylocke could do nothing to him.
Yeah, and I should have ran away. That almost cost me the game.
Yep. But that's all that I remember. I remember you were winning the game if you could survive with Nightcrawler, and I could not catch up to him. He just ran away, and I could not catch up to him.
Yeah,
So,
I think those were two. Those may have been two.
those
separate games.
were the opposite games. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were the first and then second game.
I remember in the Psylocke game, the Psylocke Rhino game. If I had done one more damage to Rhino, I would have completely shut you out that turn, and I failed by 1. And Rhino got to activate, and it wasn't like a total shutout.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah.
You won the crap out of that game. All right, well, let's move on. So I'm going to move this over to Brandon. Hey, Brandon, do you have some stuff you want to talk about last episode?
I do have notes.
Okay.
The first thing, I would have been very helpful in the trivia. I would have been very, very helpful in the trivia.
I needed the help.
The second thing is about your non sequitur recommendation and how excited you were, and you were basically just watching a Korean Real World, and I'm not sure how I felt about that.
Hey, it's a great show, everyone. You should all be watching The Influencer.
The Real World has went out of popularity like 20 years ago, Fred. I need you to catch up.
This is different.
I'd like to
Korean.
clarify. Yes. This is different because they're Korean.
Tell me how the shows are different, Fred.
Okay, well, this is very different than the real world. It's not a bunch of people living in a house together. This is a scripted and curated competition show where they have to do specific things. And otherwise, I mean...
So it's
It does
Road
not feel
rules.
anything like the real world.
So it's real world, the road
It's
rules.
road. Well, yeah, it's probably closer to road rules. It does not feel anything like the real world road rules oeuvre of shows. It doesn't feel anything like them. That's the difference. It feels completely different.
That was
Oh,
when I was listening to it. I was like, is he really just hyping up
a Korean
Korean road
reality.
rules?
Yes, I am. Everyone should be watching it. It's a great show.
The other thing is, you guys were entirely too harsh on Viper,
I
not
feel
Brad.
like I was. Yeah.
Brad was fine. Like, this is the thing. So the whole thing for like 20 minutes, you're literally comparing her to like Black Cat and like Shadow Cat,
Hmm.
who are two of the better models in the entire game.
Who are in the same price category.
Like, the whole thing is like, you're sitting there like, you know what? She's just not as good as Black Cat, who is arguably the best model in the entire game.
Yep. No, you're correct. I'm not disagreeing with you. That's the point. Like, we have to compare these models against each other. They don't exist in a vacuum. These models
Okay,
exist
but
in
I
a
think
game,
I think
and we
the
have to
point
compare them with
is,
the.
Fred, that like Black Cat is still maybe an S. So being slightly worse probably isn't a C.
Well, that's fair,
That's
but
that's literally the argument. So like, and the thing is, she's arguably the third best like 3-pointer in both of her affiliations.
you're correct. The third best 3-pointer in both of her affiliations.
And most of them you could argue, and most depending on how you're playing, she's the second best in almost both of them.
I don't know.
And then when you get to Hydra, if you want to play Baron Strucker as your leader or Baron Zemo as your leader, she is the best 3 that you can play. Because you can't play 3-point Zemo.
So here's the thing. She's the third or second best 3-point model in her two affiliations, Hydra and Cabal. Two obscure affiliations and those are the only places where she will ever see play.
But the thing is, you gotta understand is we're getting to a point where splashing models is like slowly becoming non-existent.
You're correct. You're
Like,
correct.
they're very much pushing this game to where we're not like, they don't. I think they truly do not want you to be splashing characters.
I think that you are correct. That is where they want to push the game. And they are succeeding in doing that. They're making it harder and harder to splash a model. And not because they're like making it hard to do on a denial stance. They're making it hard to do because you have options in affiliation, which is the way they should be doing it.
And both, and Hydra and Cabal are currently like the number 10 and 12 out of 27 leaderships. So like,
Yeah.
it's not like these are bad leaderships either.
No, they're not. They're not.
Now, like, I definitely don't think that she's definitely not seeing a lot of play in like Cabal, because I was looking at like the top players and what they were playing. She is in a lot of the Hydra lists though.
Yeah, I think that the way that we were talking about her was not elevating her benefits. You're right. We were comparing her to people that are better than her, which are also like some of the best models in the game. But
Well, and
I
a
think,
big thing too is, so like a big thing that happened that I noticed when you were talking about, like, so the big thing with Viper is like Viper does a lot of good things, and the argument is like, oh well, there's stuff models that do something better, and it's like, as true as that may be, like those models are really really good, and you can't always afford to splash models like that, because in a lot of those affiliations like Hydra and Cabal, like you're splashing a lot of like the bigger stuff too. Like you're splashing a lot of 4s, and so like it's hard to have multiple splash characters. So it's just kind of like interesting. I really think if this character, if they just released her card and were like, hey, nothing's gonna be different. We're just gonna just release her card and we're gonna make it sideways. I truly think that people would play her more than they do now. The worst thing about her is that she is in a box with the worst model in the game.
that is true. here's my point. What is your letter grade for Viper?
B minus.
Okay, I gave her a C. I think that Brad gave her a C.
I
I don't
did. I
remember
kind
what,
of regret the C though.
and I think that Steven gave her a C plus. So we're not that far apart.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not like the end of the world.
I
It's
feel
nothing like
like
crazy, but like I feel like it's the biggest thing is like she's not bad and she does a lot of stuff. And
yes, she
like
does.
and the thing is like if she got a buff, like she may be like really good. Like
I
there is a
agree.
world where if she gets a buff, like she could become like super super good. And there's affiliations like Hydra and Cabal that if you just give them like a really good 3-pointer, like it might end up being like way too good. Like so you have to be a little cautious.
Okay. Well,
I think she's
I
good. I think you guys were too hard on her, and comparing someone to Black Cat for 20 minutes is
I
kind
feel
of
like we perhaps you are correct. We were giving an unfair comparison, but we did talk about the about her place in the meta and what she does. And feel like we said that she is very close to being a good model. Very close to being a competitive model. So,
I don't see a reason why you wouldn't play her in Hydra. Like I
yeah.
really don't. Like looking at these threes outside of Zemo, like you're competing in that realm to me with Crossbones, the Merciless Merc, like Taskmaster and Viper. And Viper's probably a better scenario piece than both of them.
Oh, I think definitely.
Yeah, like I don't even think it's really that close. And like it's one of those I can't remember who said it, but someone was like, "Well, you have Zemo as a long mover. Playing multiple long movers is a really good thing to do."
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's something you want to be like, "Oh, I don't want to play a second long mover. Like it's redundant." Like I don't think that's necessarily where you really want to be in that scenario because like those are really good things to have and do. So.
All right then. Well, you are I don't disagree with anything that you just said.
But again,
Like
like
I
buying
think
that,
that
like I think that she sees the least amount of play because you have to buy a box that includes Sin,
yeah, yeah.
and that sucks.
Yep, that's unfortunate.
And it does not feel good. Does not feel good
Okay.
at all.
Well, let's move on. Thank you, Brandon, for putting me in my place. It needs to happen sometimes.
Nah, I think I don't like you guys weren't like super. It was a really weird scenario of just comparing her to like other really good models, and it's like all you're telling me is that this model should be played way more than she's being played. Like that's all it was doing. It was like you're telling me that this model should be played. If the comparison is like Shadowcat, who is almost synonymously taken in most X-Men lists, and then like Black Cat, who is one of the few models left that actually sees like a lot of splash play.
Right.
So
Okay, well, let's move on. I think that the next thing we should do is let's do the trivia game.
Ooh, trivia game. I got a good one today, Fred. So how this
Oh God.
works is I'm going to give Fred trivia for 3 different characters who are in Marvel Crisis Protocol, unless I trick him sometime and give him someone who's not. And
Hey.
he'll get 3 points if he gets it with the first clue, 2 points if he gets it with the second, and if Brandon's able to help him out, he'll get 1 point. He needs 6 points to win. Uh, Fred, do you have any questions about how this works? Great. Your first clue. After some adventures in space, this character almost ended the universe when they released a bunch of energy into the Infinity Union. I have no idea what that is. This almost caused a second Big Bang, but was narrowly stopped by a small group of Avengers, including Cersei, the Eternal, narrowly stopped this character. I said
Oh
narrowly
no.
stopped twice in that sentence because I had 2 asides.
Okay. Cersei. Who played Cersei in the movie? I remember that wasn't in the movie. Was that
Uh,
Angelina Jolie?
no, that's Thena.
That's Thena, you're right. Not that this helps me at all. This doesn't
it
help me.
it
This is
doesn't.
what
I'm
I've
gonna
done.
answer your question, but it doesn't.
Okay. Well, I've got no. They accidentally almost set off a Big Bang, so it makes me think that this isn't a villain. They just were acting. Adventures in Space. Was this Star Lord?
It was not Gemma Chan. It was not Star Lord.
Oh, okay, okay.
Your hint. This character was left in a zombie-like state by Thanos. However, this character managed to steal the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos while he was preoccupied being one with the universe and used it to defeat him. Thanos teamed up with a group of Earth heroes, including the Hulk, to take this character down and return everything back to the way it was before Thanos got the gauntlet.
Oh wow. I I've got no idea, man. Oh wow. Uh oh crap. Okay, I've got nothing. Um this is I'm gonna guess that this is Bob, Agent of Hydra, because I have no clue.
Well, you know that's wrong. Brandon, do
You're
you
correct.
have a guess?
The only character I know who stole a gauntlet is Nebula. So I want to go with Nebula.
Nebula is correct.
Oh wow. Okay.
Very good, Brandon.
I have read that story
It is
where
it
Nebula
is
steals the gauntlet.
one of the most famous Marvel comic series ever.
Yeah, and the
Doesn't
only
matter to
fun
me.
fact, the only reason I read it is because JB hyped it up, and I get it's something like the way it all happens is kind of funny, and then so I ended up reading it because
I
I have to
believe
know things.
was that Infinity Gauntlet or Infinity War?
I think it's the Infinity War,
Okay.
but hold on.
It's one of those two. I don't remember which.
Hey Brandon, you got me a point.
He did. I was gonna give you another clue for 0 points, Fred, and it was that this person claimed to be Thanos' granddaughter, and that really made him angry. That's why he turns into like a zombie type. She's not like undead. She just has like very little mental capacity.
Right.
Your next trivia, Fred, is this character hates their father, a biologist, and chose to take a very different path. This character's own children likewise rebelled against their father and joined their grandfather's side of the conflict, except for this character's second daughter. That daughter does betray this character, but only because she disagreed with their methods, but not their goal. This character's grandchildren break the pattern, and at least so far, and have chosen to ally themselves with their father and great grandfather, leaving this character on a side all of their own.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's the
Is
Infinity Gauntlet, not War, by
Okay.
the way.
is this God, these like family trees get so convoluted and everyone's fighting each other because they disagree with
Fred, this
everyone's
one
methods.
is especially messed up, and I'll explain after I
Uh-huh.
tell you who the character is.
Okay. It's an X-Man. I'm almost certain. Biologist father. Uh biologist father. Is this Professor X?
It is not.
Okay.
Your hint.
Crap.
After being defeated one time, this character merged with the Phalanx, a species of techno-organics whose sole purpose is to infect worlds and then summon a Magnus, which is Warlock's race, to come eat the world. This gives the phalanx a will and purpose for the first time. That purpose is to take over the entire universe, starting with the Kree Empire. This character also wants to merge with Adam Warlock, the perfect organism, to become the perfect techno-organic organism.
Oh, jeez. Like, there's nothing there for me to grab hold of. It's all just falling through my fingers. The, okay, the
I
greatest.
really thought it may have just been Warlock until this hint. So
Yeah. Uh, oh gosh. Who else does techno-organic nonsense? I don't know. Um, I'm thinking this is definitely a villain. So, is this uh uh is this Magneto?
That is incorrect. Brandon, do you have
Okay.
a guess?
well, can you repeat the first hint for me?
This character hates their father, a biologist, and chose to take a very different path. This character's own children likewise rebel against their father and join the grandfather's side of the conflict, except for this character's second daughter. That daughter does betray this character, but only because she disagrees with their methods, not their goal. This character's grandchildren break that pattern, at least so far, and have chosen to ally themselves with their father and their great grandfather, which is the first person I mentioned, leaving this character on a side all of their own.
Oh, dude, I don't know.
Yeah. So you're in my boat. Is this like I'm also thinking if this was Mystique. This could be Mystique.
Dad's biologist hates him. Everyone chose his side, though.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I almost,
I'm
in
gonna
both of
go.
these clues, added a line that I think would have given it away. So that wouldn't have been as much fun.
I disagree. It would have been better. I'm gonna go with. Oh, who did you guess first?
I guess Professor X first.
I'm gonna guess Wolverine.
Okay, that is incorrect. Uh, in the first one, I almost added, even though they're never actually on their own. And the second one, I almost added, it's a good thing he has lots of practice being in lots of places at once.
Hold on. Is this Multiple Man?
No,
No,
he's
not
not
in
in the
it.
game, Fred.
Listen, you prefaced this game by saying that you sometimes
Yeah,
cheat
that
in
was a
that
troll.
rule.
That was
You
a troll.
prefaced this game by saying that.
No, this is Ultron.
Oh.
This is Ultron.
Okay.
So his dad is Hank Pym.
Okay.
Ultron's two daughters were robots he made to be his wives.
Okay, well that's messed up.
Yes. And then he also made Vision. And Vision's child is also a good guy. Vision. We talked about her before.
Okay. So like obviously this is messed up because quote unquote children is more like quote unquote progeny.
Could you not hear the quotes in my recitation?
Yeah, okay.
I had to
So
I had to use a word. Like if I said,
his robot children.
yeah, like it would have been too obvious, Fred. Like I got to have some ambiguity there.
Well,
Also,
geez, okay.
he had to be technological in order to be the perfect techno organic organism.
I disagree. I mean,
Well, because
you said it was the first time it gave the phalanx a will.
Yep.
That could be a person who gives the phalanx a will.
It
Do you?
it could be, but it was a robot, Fred. It was a robot. A robot
Okay,
who
all
has a
right. Well,
will.
I don't really
okay.
like a world where Ultron is mixed with the Phalanx.
Yeah, it went really bad. That crossover, that big event's called Annihilation Conquest, and it was really good, guys. So, the Guardians of the Galaxy are in it. The Guardians of the Galaxy, and at least some of this event are written by Dan Abnett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know who that is.
I know you do, Fred. That's why I mentioned it. Okay, so we've got 1 point so far.
Yep.
You're you're doing great, Fred. I mean Brandon. Brandon's the only one that's earned a point. I don't have a lot of faith on this next one. Jaded
Oh,
by
no.
his government work, this character joins the anti-registration side during the superhero Civil War. He is quickly arrested and put in a special superhuman jail in the negative zone called Fantasy Island. To prevent his escape, he is tied down to a slab of rock and surrounded by fire, one of his only weaknesses. He escaped with the other prisoners and fought in the final battle of that event. Despite all this, he goes back to working for the government when he's asked.
Uh, so one of his only weaknesses is fire. Is that Captain America's side that he takes? I'm thinking.
Yes, the anti-registration
Uh,
side is Captain
the
America.
anti-registration side. Okay.
Yeah. Just like the
Uh,
movies, they got that part right.
one of his only weaknesses is fire.
That is
You
what
know what?
I said.
That is also most people's weakness. If you were to surround anybody with fire, it would do a pretty good job of preventing them from escaping.
Yeah, but this is one of those cases where other things would not have worked, but fire does.
Who's weak to fire? Whose thing is? Oh no, it's fire. Is there oh, hold on. Hold on. Is this Frankenstein's monster?
No.
It's not an insane guess. For
No,
the record.
that was very good guess, Fred. I like that. That it absolutely could have been Frankenstein's monster. This character had to complete an animal-themed test to earn the right to take over his father's role as leader of his people after his father's death. He completes the challenge, but then had to rescue his people from subjugation by another group. He manages to help free his people and kill the opposition's leader, but is caught and taken out in the process, never to be reunited with his people.
His people. Lots of his people. Who's and it's a he. Is this gonna end up being Groot? Hold on. Could this be Groot? Is that a possibility? Because he's wood. He's made out of wood. I'm gonna say Groot.
Groot is incorrect. Brandon, do you know who
Damn
this
it.
is?
I'm gonna go with Fred's first guess, and I want to go with the Living Mummy. I honestly do not know how to properly pronounce the name in front of it, so I'm not gonna butcher
In
it.
Kantu, the living mummy is correct.
Oh,
No way.
shnikes. Oh, shnikes.
That is correct.
I mean, I guess that makes sense that fire is not ideal for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's wrapped in parchment.
Now hold on. So he was on the same side as Captain America in
Yep.
something?
Yep.
Well, I knew he also worked. All the monsters work for the government.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
They
he
were
was
all in Shield.
he was a howling commando and then joined the anti-registration side. And then when Phil Coulson asked him to be a howling commando again, he was like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds like a good idea." Also, the whole second clue, it was the trial of the lion, but I thought like I'd throw a curveball and make you think it was someone Black Panther related by just not saying what animal it was.
Oh, okay.
But the whole second clue, it was the trial of the lion, but I thought like I'd throw a curveball and make you think it was someone Black Panther related by just not saying what animal it was.
Okay.
I thought maybe you'd pick
I did not
M'Baku
take that bait.
or something. But the people who his people were subjugated by the ancient Egyptians.
Okay. Wait, so he's not ancient Egyptian?
He is not Egyptian. He's from a northern African tribe.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
they punished him by they like tied him to a slab of rock and wrapped him in parchment and replaced his bodily fluids with some unknown alchemical mixture, which paralyzed him, and then entombed him. And then, however many years later, like not a million, but a lot, uh, he the paralyzation wore off, but he's still alive. He's been alive that whole time, and he goes crazy and attacks Cairo in like I don't know the 70s or something, and
Okay.
then gets moved to America and put in a museum, and then comes alive again, and then it's just been hanging out since.
Just a mummy hanging out.
Yeah, he's like a pretty normal guy. Like when he's in the jail with a bunch of other like superheroes and supervillains. And I don't know what they said to like prompt him, but he just looks at them and goes, "I'm not alive." And they go, "Ooh." He's just a dude. And this is the most I've ever learned about this character. Do not know
Yeah,
who this character is.
I vaguely remember you saying that you knew nothing about this
No,
guy.
I read his Wikipedia article and pulled some stuff out. That's
Okay.
that's
All
all
right.
I
So
know.
this is all like even hyper obscure for the Marvel heads out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I didn't have it.
Okay.
And you were so close with your first guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, well.
close. Because
I was really close.
that could have, like, everything I said, like, either matched him. He worked for the government again, and could have been him. Could have been
Now, of
Frankenstein's
course, I don't
monster.
know anything about this Frankenstein's monster. I only know about the book Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, so when he comes up for trivia, that'll be fun. Your bonus,
Yeah,
Fred,
yeah.
worth 4 points today,
Oh, God.
is what do these characters have in common?
All right. So we've got Nebula, we've got a second person, and we've got
Ultron.
the living mummy. Who is the second person?
It's Ultron.
Ultron. We got,
Oh my god.
we got Nebula, Ultron, and the living mummy. What do they all have in common? Does the living mummy give out shock? Is that something that the living mummy can do? I don't think so. I don't think he
also
does.
don't believe so.
You
Do
can't
they
help
all
Brandon.
have help Brandon?
No, I said you can't help.
Oh, he can't help.
He
Okay.
can't help.
Does it have to do?
Can I take an alternative chance to win the game?
If he messes this up,
I'm
Brandon,
gonna mess it up.
you can earn 4 additional points and you can win, but Fred can't.
All right, I'll take it.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not looking good for me because I've got no idea. I mean, does Nebula have a mystic attack? I don't think she does. I'm pretty sure she doesn't. They're all formerly people who became monsters. How about that? Or not monsters, but cyborg or robot or mummy.
Okay, so
They
that's how
used to be normal people.
No, Ultron was not normal people. Okay, Brandon.
He was a normal AI.
He was. He wasn't even AI. His brain's engrams were based on Hank Pym's. All right, Brandon, do you have a guess?
My guess is actually similar to Fred's. My guess was that none of them are actually alive.
That is incorrect. The correct answer is that they all are immune to bleed, which I thought was relevant for this episode.
Oh, they're all immune to bleed. They are. They are all immune to bleed. Crap. Okay. Well, poop. I was looking at their attacks as if that was going to give me some insight. Oh well.
Alright, so Fred lost.
I lost again. Oh well. Can't win them all.
You
All right.
can't even
Well,
win most. Oh, go
I
ahead.
can't even win most. All right. Well, I think, is there anything else that we need to do before we cover the guy we're here to talk about? I don't think that there is. So let's just roll right in because we will have a lot to discuss here. Let's talk about Dracula, otherwise known as Vlad Dracula. His defense line is 4 physical, 3 energy, and 4 mystic. He has 7 stamina on both sides of his card. He is a threat value of 5. He is a size 3, and he is a medium mover. All right, Brad, why don't you cover his attacks?
Okay, his first attack is physical, Ancestral Blade, range 2, 7 dice. It's free, gain power equal damage dealt. Hit, Curse of Shadows. After this attack is resolved, the target character gains one of the following special conditions: Bleed, Slow, Root, or Hex. His second attack is also physical, Blood Feast, range 2, 6 dice. It costs 1. After the attack is resolved, this character removes 1 damage from itself for each damage dealt. And after this attack is resolved, the target character gains the bleed special condition. And his last attack is Mystic, Fury of the Vampire. It's range 3, 8 dice, 4 cost. If the target character has the bleed special condition, this character may reroll any number of attack dice. After this attack is resolved, if the target character is size 4 or less, this character may throw it away medium.
Okay, Brandon, why don't you read the first 3 of his superpowers?
The first superpower is active hypnotic stare. For 2 power, you choose an enemy character within 3 and you advance the chosen character short. This superpower can only be used once per turn. Reactive eternal hunger for also 2 power. After an attack against this character is resolved, it may use the superpower. If an attacker is within 3, this character may make an attack against the attacker. This superpower can only be used once per turn. Shape-shifting is also reactive. Like active reactive. For 1
Yeah.
power, when this character begins a move action during its activation, it may use superpower. If it does, it chooses one of the following effects to resolve before moving. Bat. This character gains flight superpower during this move action. Wolf. Increase this character's speed to long during this move action. Mist. Drop all objective tokens and remove all special conditions and up to 2 damage from this character. And then I can just finish it.
Yeah, go ahead.
For a static ability, it's Unholy Vampiric Immortality. At the end of this character's activation, it gains 1 power and removes 1 damage from itself for each other character within 3 of it that has the bleed special condition.
Okay. And yeah. That everything you just heard is outstanding. He also has a tactics card which is his leadership. And do you think we should go over that now, or should we go over what's on this card before we touch that?
Let's talk about it all at once.
Okay, all right. Then let me find
It's called
that
Yeah, I've got
particular
It's Thralls of Dracula.
I'm
Thralls
in.
of
I'm all in reading this. I'll just read it. I'm
Go
ready.
for it. Go for it.
All right. Thralls of Dracula is an unaffiliated reactive card. When this card is included in your squad, if your squad is unaffiliated and includes Dracula, you may play this card. Your squad is now using the Thralls of Dracula affiliation, regardless of other affiliated characters. Dracula gains the following leadership ability. It is your active leadership. It is called Bloodlust. The affiliation is the Thralls of Dracula. Once per turn, during an allied character's activation, it may pay 1 power and choose an enemy character within 2. The chosen character gains the bleed special condition. If the chosen character already has the bleed special condition, this character may remove 1 damage from itself instead.
Okay. So, let's discuss that wording right now while we're here thinking about it. Um, so what that's saying is that models under this affiliation may pay 1 power to choose an enemy character within range 2. That character either gains the bleed special condition, or if they already have the bleed special condition, this character may remove 1 damage from itself instead. This character meaning Dracula, meaning the model Dracula. I believe that that is the way that it is being interpreted, and that is how I believe it to be interpreted as well.
It's either that or Loki's doesn't work the way everyone's been playing it. It's the exact
Right,
same
right.
wording as Loki.
Yeah. So, the on first blush, when I first read this, I was thinking that the model that made the choice, like let's say anyone who's working under this affiliation, if the model is bleeding that they choose, they heal 1. That would be kind of incredible, you know? That would be like keeping the entire team up longer than they should be. It would be an attrition nightmare if you're up against it. But it is only affecting Dracula himself. So that has much more limited effect. It will still be effective because this guy kicks absolute butt. I think this guy is like a powerhouse when it comes to being an attrition piece. The one thing about him is that he only has 7 stamina, and he has to heal up when he gets beaten up. However, he has the ability to do that. All right, who wants to talk about this? Brandon, talk
Yeah.
about this guy's card. I want to hear
So
all
Can
about it.
the
can
the
I
main
go?
can the
Can
main
I go first so I can actually, you
I just
know?
want to say one thing
Okay.
before. I just want to say, like, where he was talking about the leadership. This is, I'll let you talk. This is in
Okay.
regards to leadership. The contention about the leadership is because in the panel to play it states, and I quote, if the enemy character already has bleed, Dracula's squad can regenerate from damage like other monsters. And that is what has caused all of the confusion
Yeah.
and contention across the internet. It will be clarified. We don't need to worry about it. It is it's not something to stress about right now. The character is not out. You cannot play him. You cannot play him competitively. Relax. It'll be okay. We'll figure out. We'll get clarification when the model is released.
Right. They did bad with this release because they put that in the panel to play. And that's not how I read this card.
It's not how it's
That's
written.
not how I read it. That's not how it's written. Now they
Not how.
have done misprints on cards before, like they did with the Cosmic Ghost Rider card that doesn't function, and they had
Oh
to
yeah.
change it because so that it does function.
And there
If what
there's
they
also been once or twice where the panel to play had the wrong version of the card.
That's true too.
I don't think that's what happened this time.
Yeah, I mean, as a leadership, I think it's kind of bad the way that it is currently written. I think it's got its value, but it's not a great leadership. I think it turns into a much better leadership if it is that the model can heal itself when it chooses an enemy, not just Dracula. Like it can heal any model that chooses a model that is bleeding can heal
and
themselves.
and that's like the idea, right? So the idea is
Yeah,
that under Dracula, they're all now vampires, and they're healing because of the bleed that they're causing on other characters. Like it makes sense for that, but it also like it makes sense both ways.
it does.
I think it's good both ways. I think even if you just finish this sentence after enemy character within 2 and then the chosen character gains the bleed special period and that was the end of it, I think it'd still be a fine. I mean it's obviously not great, but I think it would be fine. Like I
It
think
would
it
be
would
fine
be
with this guy.
yeah,
With the way that
it's
Dracula works, yeah.
and the fact that you can play any model with him, I think it's fine just in that regards. The fact that you can use it to then heal uh, every activation, you can heal
Yeah.
essentially.
Uh-huh.
Um, So it's fine. But Brad can talk, and then I have a lot to say. So.
Okay. All right, Brad.
Okay, so
Put some
I haven't
some
I
some
haven't looked
thoughts to this guy.
I haven't looked at this card in at least days, and I don't even think I looked at it when I put it in Cerebro, because I just looked to see if it changed on the back, and it didn't, and then I just moved on. So it's been a while since I've read this card until right here on the podcast, and I can't believe he's a 5-point model.
I know he should be a 6 threat model. This is a 6 threat model.
It feels like a 6 threat model, even with the 7 health on each side. He feels like a 6-point model.
His 14 health pool is gonna feel like 30.
It is you're gonna have to do 30 damage to take him down.
As a leader, absolutely. As a character in a squad, maybe
He'll
not.
feel like 20.
Yeah, it'll probably feel like 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right.
His movement tech's good. His attacks are great. His hypnotic stare is at least the inability they figured out how to balance, but is still really good.
It's really good.
It's just, and he heals. I mean, he heals.
He gains
a
bleed,
lot,
but he heals so much.
Well, he heals on Bleed Feast or Blood Feast too.
Yeah.
For each damage dealt,
Yeah,
he heals one,
and it only costs one.
and it auto bleeds. So not only are you going to heal if you deal damage, you're also going to heal at the end of your activation because you gave that character bleed.
This is a crazy model.
He's nuts. Absolutely nuts. There are 3 ways on this guy's card to heal him. There are 3 effects that heal him on this guy's card.
And that does not include the leadership for everybody paying attention.
No, does not include his leadership.
I don't think you'll do, though, Mist Form very often.
You're probably correct. You probably don't use the Mist Form much. But you might use it.
I can't see him surviving, honestly. Like, if he had a bad affiliation backing him up, like Apocalypse, maybe he's fine. But like,
oh, did you just say Apocalypse's affiliation was bad?
The models are not the best, and that's what I'm saying. That's a balancing thing that they can do. That's not what they went here. You can literally play any model you want. So you pick all the bleed models.
Oh, I've got a list we're going to talk about later.
I figure we do. But this
I'm
guy's
ready.
crazy.
I'm ready.
I can't believe this.
He's unbelievably good. I think he's unbelievable. He has a range 3 8 dice spender that costs 4 power that auto gives bleed. Oh no, it doesn't auto give bleed. If the character has bleed, it may reroll any number of attack dice. And then after the attack is resolved, if the target character is size 4 or less, this character may throw that character away medium. Now it's away, so that is a limiting factor, but that's still size 4.
Yeah, it's not really that limited.
It's not limited.
I was feeling really good about
you can't throw a Sentinel.
I was feeling really good about my upcoming Apocalypse play. I'm like, I'm going to give him a real go. I think he's pretty good. And then I reread this model. I'm like, honestly, what am I even going to do? Like that. And I know I'm going to see this guy a whole bunch. Thanks, Brandon.
Hey.
So,
hey.
like, I'm in rereading this card, I'm already feeling a little defeated. If I'm being honest. And that's all I'm going to say. Brandon, go on your spiel. We'll be here an hour.
All right. So I think the big thing is I think like I said, I think the leadership is fine. I think the big thing about it is only affecting him and being down a tactics card is relevant. The one thing I did realize when you were gone at one point, me and Fred kind of talked about it. A big thing that runs into is the models that complement him really well do not have tactics cards. So the tactics card suite that you end up having is not great. Obviously, you can adjust and make little defects and changes to make that a little bit better, but it is very hard especially now that they've taken out most of the really good tactics cards that aren't character related. Something that Hellfire also kind of struggles with is you don't have great tactics cards you can take all the time. Um, and that's something that this list I think will struggle with way more than Hellfire Club because there is something you're trying to do, which is like the bleed mechanic. Um, so like now you're kind of restricting your models a little bit to play with that, but you don't have to. You can just play the 9 like really good models to play like an attrition game plan or a scenario game plan. Um, I think this model plays really well in whatever way you want to play them, which is probably problematic in the long run. Um, but having the 3 attacks, all being really good, mostly because medium base on the opening turn you can long move, and you're gonna get to the middle point
Oh my
with the
god.
long move.
Oh
So
my
you
god.
spend your power, you're gonna long move, you're on the middle point, and now you can Ancestral Blade, which is a 7 dice gainer, which can give bleed. If you gain 2 power, you can move someone off of the point, and you're kind of sitting there. They're probably not going to be moved far enough away to where you're not going to get heal yourself or gain a power because they have bleed. Um, During the activation, you can also give another character bleed if there's multiple characters in the middle. So the big thing for Mist is this allows Dracula. Mist is really good in like a couple scenarios. The main one being on research station. Um, being having an attrition team that plays on research station is kind of what they want to be doing anyway, and being able to heal so much from a model that's already hitting you like an absolute truck is going to be very, very difficult. But Bat and Wolf make the shapeshifting on Bat and Wolf make him a really good scenario piece. And then Mist is only going to be really used, in my opinion, in very attrition based matchups. Um,
It'll be in Gamma. It'll be on Demons.
yeah, when you're playing very much, but like just having that heal, he is not immune to anything, which can be kind of obnoxious, like because like he can get like him with incineration, him incinerated and bleed, even being bleeding himself can be problematic for him. Like there are ways to kill him, like he's not unkillable. Um, again, but like he's got so much play. The attack and the fact that Fury of the Vampire is Mystic is so fun. Um, because giving him you can pay it. All you need is 5 power to have a range 3 8 dice attack. That is that because you can give bleed with the leadership. Now you can reroll any of your dice, and you get if it survives, you get to throw it away. So he can slay monsters. He's really good into the kaiju war. Um, he can play scenario really well, and he protects himself really well with like Blood Feast for only 1 power, being able to make sure you heal yourself plus give yourself give bleed automatically, which then gains you a power to kind of set yourself up to keep internal hunger on, because being able to punch back is something that we haven't like touched on at all, and just being able to um,
Yeah.
just hit back, and it's like so if they come up to you and hit you like with a 5 dice range to attack, you can hit them back for 7 dice with Ancestral Blade, and you can use any attack. So if you have the power, you can then Fury of the Vampire. So if you have 2 power, they deal 2 damage. Now you can Fury of the Vampire. If they have bleed, now you're reacting on their turn with an 8 dice Mystic attack with full rerolls, and you can throw them possibly out of range and off the point.
Yeah. Or in a worse, if you have 3 power after their attack, you could hit them back with a Blood Feast and heal any damage they dealt.
Yeah. No, I think that's what you're almost always going to be attacking back with is Blood Feast. Just being able to for 3 power, because that's not unreasonable, especially with the unholy vampiric immortality and a 7 dice builder. Having 3 power to just be able to be like, all right, you dealt 2 damage. All right, cool. I dealt 2 damage to you. Now you're bleeding, and I'm healed. And now I don't have to. And now if I want to give, I can spend a power to heal again because you have bleed now.
Yeah. This guy's nuts.
At
I've been very
least
excited for this character, and for a long time, way before he ever was like spoiled or began to come out. So I'm very happy with this.
Yeah.
at least Venom has a smaller health pool, and for his attack back
Is
and heal,
nowhere
and
nowhere near as mobile.
nowhere near as mobile, and has a bigger weakness to energy. Uh,
Yeah.
this whole Dracula thing is just disgusting. At least it's only range 2 for the heal. That's
Yeah,
way
that's
The
true.
easier.
range two. Good.
It's way easier to stand outside of that.
Yeah, the range 2 attacks are definitely going to be kind of like a detriment. Not really a detriment, but like it is something like if either of those attacks for range 3, this model would probably be much like I think that would just be way too much. Like it would be really bad, and you'd probably see him everywhere. Um, I don't think you're going to see this model splash necessarily everywhere. Um, However, he is going to be really good under his leadership. And if he is a Midnight Sun, he'll be really the bump would be really beneficial for him.
Yep,
Uh,
that bump.
Medium base bump's really good, but being able to pay a power and move long is so good. Like especially with a medium base, um, we've seen that be problematic since the first time they ever put it on a model, which was Angela. Um, so I can see this model being a bane in people's existence.
Absolutely. Okay,
Mine.
so I want to talk a little bit here about this guy. I was talking with Borka about this guy coming out, and Borka brought up the point that this is a sign of inevitable power creep, and he's worried about this being the case. That like this is a push towards that might draw the meta into uh, a more attrition focused gameplay as opposed to a scenario focused gameplay where it's just going to come down to who rolls better or who has the harder hitting stuff that whoever's stuff goes off first will be the person who really succeeds in the game, which in a way, I mean, this is a dice game and that is kind of how the game plays, but there are ways to use scenario to win using strategy as opposed to just depending on dice. And this guy is good enough that he might be problematic for that game plan. Like this guy is going to be a huge threat on the table. The fact that he is a threat value of 5 is insane. I think that this should be a 6 threat model. If you just change that 5 to a 6 and maybe gave him 1 more health on his front side, you wouldn't feel bad about it. I don't think so.
He could, I mean, in that scenario, like he can die, like, like he's gonna be hard to kill, but he's not like impossible to kill. Like dealing 7 damage, especially if you have multiple energy attacks, isn't like there's no damage reduction. He can't really heal on his turn, like except for on internal hunger. So it's not like he is super survivable. I think he's really good attrition piece as well, but I really think he's gonna shine as a scenario piece. Um, Kind of where Namor's already shine, and he does a lot of different things than Namor does,
Mm-hmm.
and like we've all played against Namor a decent amount at this point. Like Namor does die,
Yeah,
like
he
and
does.
Namor has a lot more defensive tech.
You're
Like
right. Like
Namor,
Namor is a killable model. Like I've never felt like I couldn't deal with him.
yeah, like there's gonna be games where if you can do a big chunk of damage on like Dracula when he activates, he's gonna spend most of his turn trying to heal that damage back. Um,
Well, but
and
here's the thing: he will succeed in doing so.
he can do it. Like he
Yeah, he
definitely
will
can do it because
succeed.
if he has multiple models around him, being able to blood feast twice, if he could blood feast 2 different models and then leadership another one to give 3 bloods, bleeds, wow, and heal 3, like it's definitely really good.
He
Um,
heals 3 and gains 3 power at the end of
yeah,
his turn.
which gives him the eternal hunger online again for the blood feast on the opponent's turn. But again, it's like he does have to survive these attacks. Like I do think he's really good. I don't think he is. This isn't like a Malekith situation. where you're gonna like you build a roster of 9 models and then you just put Malekith in it, which is exactly what happened when Malekith came out. Like you build a 9-person roster and then you put Malekith in it. Like that was the standard until he got his first nerf. Um, I don't think this model's in that situation, because there are a lot of really good 5 threat models. I think the worst thing, at least for me, is this model probably knocks Ghost Rider out of seeing much of any play. Um, Unfortunately, really in his affiliate, well, he'll still see some play in like Defenders, but he's probably no if Dracula's Midnight Suns, like he's probably not gonna see. You're probably not gonna play Ghost Rider anymore.
That is
And then
correct.
affiliation.
I won't even look at Ghost Rider if in Midnight Suns.
Yeah. I mean, there's a world you play both of them because at 14, having Dracula, Blade, and Ghost Rider is really good. Anyway, I definitely understand. Like, I think this is a really good model, but I don't think I understand the concern of like the power creep, but it's not all like we get like one model like this. It seems like a year where we're like, oh, this model's really, really, really good. Like, I mean, we were
I think
really
we've
high
gotten,
on.
this is the third model like that we've gotten this year.
Well, like I said, that's what I was going to. So we were really high on Shang-Chi and we were really high on Namor. Neither one of them in tournaments have. We're not seeing them splashed everywhere. We're not really seeing them splashed hardly at all.
Shang-Chi's getting splashed a lot.
He was getting splashed a decent amount, but most of the big tournaments, like he's not in the top models being played, at least in the top like couple. Like he's up there, but it's not. We're not getting these models forced into places, and 5's a lot bigger of a number to force into places.
You're
As someone who
correct.
has tried to force Namor into like everything, um,
I think you're right, and this goes to what we were saying earlier in the podcast that they're moving away from a game where you can easily slot in models. And I agree with you also that I don't think this guy is going to get splashed very much. I
yeah.
really don't. I don't think this is a splash model.
I think his leadership's good enough, and again, if he's affiliated anywhere else, um, Cabal,
He might be
Midnight
Cabal.
Suns are really the only places he'd probably possibly be affiliated.
Yeah.
I think he definitely sees a lot of play in Midnight Suns. I think he really helps that affiliation out a lot. And I think the monsters in general, if they're all Midnight Suns, will help that affiliation out a lot.
I mean, the Midnight Suns just becomes the monster affiliation at that point.
Yeah,
You
and
bring
then
Blade and a bunch of monsters.
yeah, and then well, there's some good models.
Yeah, I'm oversimplifying, but yes.
Yeah, because Black Cat's a Midnight Sun.
Right,
So
right.
let's make this real clear. You're playing Black Cat. So like I said, I think he's really good. I think he's got he doesn't have his own tactics card outside of his leadership, which is something. I mean, we got all of them, right? Like,
I think we did get all of them. Yes, I think it probably does not have another tactics card with him.
well, I mean, we would know because
No,
we have the back of the box.
They said that each monster got one tactics card.
Okay. Yeah.
And Dracula's is the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so like I said, he doesn't have a tactics card, so we don't have to worry about like a broken tactics card. Like that's another thing Malekith had. He had Midnight Phantasmagoria, which was really good. Namor had Princess Protection, which was really good. Shang-Chi's had I can't think of the name of it, but it's also very good. That changes dice. So there was a lot of things. The thing I really like, and I really like that they're going to more often, is like what the shape shifting ability on Dracula. Now I think Dracula's might be too much. I do think this is a really, really good ability. The flight's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, okay. You're right.
Wolf and Mist are both really good. If that's all it was, I think it's equally as good. But I like the ability of having options on the card. We've seen that with Shang-Chi, Namor, and Dracula, and I think that's something that makes them so much better than the other models we've really got this year. Because when you have the options, it feels really good. Namor's attack having options, shape shifting, and then Shang-Chi having the option as well. When he makes a 10,000, whatever it's called, 10,000 rings punch thing. like having options afterward, it's just good. It's a good thing to have, and it feels a whole lot better. And I think that's something that they've kind of seemed to be going towards, and I think it's a good thing, more than a bad thing.
I do
But
like the that they go towards these choices that are really visually interesting. Like it's not visually interesting, but it evokes a mental image that is very cool. Like when he when he goes long move, he turns into a wolf and runs along the field at high speed. I think that's neat.
it's also very thematic.
Yeah, yeah.
Shapeshifting is three very vampire related thematic abilities that they're very fast, that they can fly, and that they can kind of vanish. The immortality is very Dracula based, eternal hunger, hypnotic. Like these are all like this card's very thematic on top of being very, very good, which is not something you can say about Malekith.
Right.
There's not much thematics there. So a lot of really cool
theme. I'm on a big cat. I
yeah.
can fly.
Theme, big cat with wings, dog. So yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I definitely understand. I can definitely understand the fear of being like scared of it. But I'll be honest, like a Hulk just kills him. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the big models, like he can hunt down kaiju in a sense, but like in a one-on-one battle with most of these kaiju, like he's just gonna die. Like he doesn't have any defensive tech besides eternal hunger. And
Aside from the biggest defensive tech.
I mean, attacking back. I mean, if it's against a Hulk, like, oh, cool, you attacked back, and now you're getting, yeah,
healed
and
all the damage that you dealt.
maybe. I mean, six dice isn't a ton. Like 6 versus 4 is going to be like a 2.5 average. So if you took 4, healed 2, and now you just gave him 2 more damage. Now if he can spinner you, like you're in equally as bad of a situation as you were just in. Like I said, that's why I think he's much more of a scenario piece, because medium based long move for a power, really good. Being able to heal and stay alive, it's really good. If you need to fly over a building, sure, you can do that as well. Displacement with hypnotic stare and fury of the vampire, being able to throw away. Giving conditions, a big thing too. Curse of shadows, slow, root, hex, and bleed are all very good conditions.
Yeah, that's and it's on a hit trigger, which is awesome. Like that's great.
That's got to be in the upper 70s of percentages on 7 dice to get that. And they did limit it. You can only gain 1. It'd be really cool if it was 1 or more. Anyway, I'm not asking for anything, but you can be really
twice on someone.
Yeah, you can be really
2 of them.
Which is kind of funny because this is an ability you're probably not picking bleed very often, because you can do it on the leadership. So giving characters slow, giving specific characters root, and giving characters hex, or like if you like, that's the big thing. If you can like hex and root a kaiju, like that's really good. Most of the big monsters are moving small anyway on those large bases, the Hulks and stuff. So it's not. I think same thing. Like even like slowing on the front side, you can slow Apocalypse. You can't slow him on the back side. But slowing Apocalypse can really kind of turn him out of the game, especially if you can throw him away, or just even like displacing him. So slowing a model and then displacing them for a total of 2 power is going to be something that's really good, because you're basically taking their whole movement. They're not gaining anything back if they're a medium or a long mover. So
Interestingly enough, this model does not go into Apocalypse well at all. Because
it does, because you just ignore Apocalypse.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like you don't put this model into Apocalypse.
Yeah, and actually into
the model.
I thought you meant the affiliation. I was like, no, into the affiliation, he's absolutely phenomenal.
Into the affiliation, he owns face, but into Apocalypse, this model versus Apocalypse, the model, I think Apocalypse wins, because every time this guy uses his builder, he will heal Apocalypse.
Yeah. You're just hypnotic staring Apocalypse. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is you're not attacking Apocalypse.
Right.
Like when you play this affiliation and you're playing against Apocalypse, you just ignore Apocalypse pretty much the entire game, or enough to give him slow on his front side and make him basically have it staggered. Being able to slow Hypnotic Stare, or if you can Fury the Vampire him away. Is Apocalypse size 3 or 4?
Size 4.
Yeah. So if you have, and you can throw him, if you can throw him away, if you have other characters that can throw him away in your affiliation, um, like a model that we'll probably talk about in the next coming weeks, right? He can throw a character on his, and the Frankenstein's monster on his attack, he can throw size 4.
Yep.
So stuff like that, you can kind of get away with. So there's definitely a lot of play. I do think he's more of a scenario piece than he is a attrition piece, and which could be problematic because 5 threat is a lot when you're talking about scenario game plans.
Boy,
Most scenario
I
teams do
don't
not
agree.
play a 5 threat.
I don't agree. This is an attrition piece, like through and through.
I think it's better.
Now I'm saying, yeah, he has play in objective games.
I think he's
definitely
much
does.
better as a scenario model than he is a attrition piece because of the lack of defensive tech. Like I think he's not going to win fights into Hulks. Like he's just not. And like that's something you have to when you're thinking of a really good attrition piece. Like he's not killing a Hulk. He's not going to single-handedly kill a Hulk, and Hulk can just kill him.
All right then. Well, we've got to give Dracula a letter grade. So, Dracula, he's really good. He's like, this is an outstanding model. I'm in the high A's. I'm thinking an A plus, and I'm leaning towards an S. But I'm gonna give him an A plus. I'm giving him an A. Oh boy, I should give him an S, shouldn't I? I'm giving him an A plus. All right, Brad, why don't you give this guy a letter grade?
I'm just gonna say yes.
Okay, okay. Brandon, why don't you give Dracula a letter grade?
I'm also at an S.
All right, I guess I'm the lowest person. I knew that was gonna happen if I didn't go with an S. Dang it. Yeah, this model's great. This is another one of the real like outstanding 5 threats that they've come out with.
I also really do like that 5 threats are very, very good because it is hard to play 5 threats like in a lot of lists.
Mathematically. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do like that is becoming a very heavy like thing because it makes the 6s feel better because the 6s are we've had a lot of really good 6s. There's a couple bad ones, but like most of the 6s are really good as well.
Yeah. Yep. All right then. Well, Brad, do you have any comic books that feature Dracula?
Yes, I do, Fred. Yes, I do. I've got how many did I end up putting? 3. I almost put a 4th one. I don't remember what the 4th one was now, but you're not gonna get it. Okay, the first one is Tomb of Dracula. This is 70 issues. There's various writers and artists that worked on this throughout the 70 issues. And the series follows a group of vampire hunters that fight Dracula and other supernatural threats. And sometimes Dracula teams up with them to stop bigger threats. And basically, this establishes Dracula's place in the Marvel Universe. It's from the 70s, by the way.
Okay. So, like, is this the first time that he appears in the Marvel Universe?
I believe so. I didn't actually look at what his first appearance was, but it's probably Tomb of Dracula #1.
Yeah. It's just so weird that Dracula is a Marvel character.
Well, back in
Because Dracula is a well-known character from literature,
and
and
is
is also
First
a Marvel
appearance
character.
was the Tomb of Dracula #1 in April of 72.
okay. The thing is, Fred, like he was in the public domain, so
Yeah. So anyone can snatch him. Hey, question: is he still in the public domain, or does Marvel own him?
yeah, he's in the public domain. Marvel
Okay.
Marvel has the copyright for Marvel's Dracula.
Marvel's Dracula. Okay.
Yes,
Which is its own specific character.
yes.
Okay.
But monster movies were big in like the late 60s, early 70s, and that's when they started introducing all of these characters like Dracula, the Living Mummy, Frankenstein's monster, Werewolf by Night, all those characters into the comics.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right then, because they needed to put the Universal monsters into, they needed to capitalize when they became
Yeah.
public domain. All right, well, okay, that was your first recommendation,
Yes, Fred.
right?
Yeah, that was
You
my
have more
first
than
one.
that. You have more than that.
I do.
Sorry, I was
I
gonna
do,
move us
Fred.
forward.
The second one is called X-Men: Curse of the Mutants. The main series is by Victor Gleicher and Paco Medina, and then other people worked on the tie-ins. But Xerus, the son of Dracula, has become the Lord of the Vampires and has a plan to make all the mutants into vampires so that they can take over the world. They turn Jubilee into a vampire. And Cyclops has a plan to resurrect and recruit Dracula to stop Xerus. So Dracula starts the story. He has been beheaded, and his head and body are in different places. And Storm and Gambit have to go steal his body. This is also the series where Cyclops tells Dracula to follow his heart,
You were telling me about this.
which has
That's
been
such a ridiculous thing for someone to say.
memed a lot, but absolutely worked in this story. Like it worked
Follow
out.
your heart, Dracula.
Okay. And the last story I have is very recent. It's Blood Hunt. This is by Jed McKay, Pepe Larraz, and Marte Gracia. Fred, do any of those names sound familiar to you?
I mean, no, they shouldn't they? Are they
I've
the people who
I've
made
men- I mentioned them before.
they do the House of X Powers of 10?
They did. Pepe did the
Okay.
art for House, and Marte did the colors for both series, which really ties
Okay.
the series together. And so the art in this comic is beautiful. It's so good. But there's a new leader of the vampires, and this person has manipulated the Dark Force users, like Darkstar and Cloak, into releasing a chunk of the Dark Force dimension, the energy from there, to block out the sun. So vampires have free reign to try to take over the world. Seems like this happens a lot.
Yeah, this is a constant theme with Dracula, huh?
Dracula's not doing this. He was not in charge
Oh,
of the
okay.
last scheme. So the Avengers and Dracula team up to stop this because Dracula knows how.
The more this keeps happening, the more I think that the Marvel universe is like the Fast and the Furious universe. The bad guys keep becoming the good guys. Like, this is, I don't remember is it Shaw? It's the
Uh-huh.
he's the Shaw of the Marvel universe.
Well, he's also kind of the Hobbs.
Yeah, he kind
Because
of
they
is.
both do that. Shaw's a much bigger deal because like that was
Yeah. Because he
'cause
killed Han.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are some new character designs for this. There's this
Or
like
did he?
group of vampires that make their premiere in this, and they don't feed on blood. Well, the main one does. But they all feed on different things. So one feeds on pain, one feeds on psychic energy, and their designs are really cool. So it's worth reading the comic just for these characters. Like I would love to see them in MCP.
Okay.
And
One
Fred,
feeds on pain. Yeah.
this is partially my fault, but we forgot to talk about something related to the tournament.
Is it this very pretty card that I'm looking at?
Yeah, it's the very pretty card. So we got in with our Apocalypse a pack of the alt art Apocalypse cards, and I gave them out to the 3 people at the tournament. So I got one. And if you're on the YouTube, you are now looking at it. It's a black card with gold shiny. I don't even know what to say.
The highlights are gold
Yeah,
and reflective.
they
It's
are.
gorgeous. It's a black card with white writing and gold highlights.
And
It's a very cool looking card.
It's a negative card, but all the white is gold.
that's true.
Yes. Yes. He's
That's
correct.
True.
It's really cool.
And then Apocalypse has a different color scheme on the card as well.
Yeah, he's all goldy too.
All of the blue that was on him is gold. And when Borka saw this, he's like, I wasn't planning to get Apocalypse, but I might buy him and paint him like this.
Yeah,
So,
I like this paint scheme more than the blue. This looks good. I think this would look good.
and then the as good as it looks in this picture, it looks, because tried to get the highlight in there, it looks so much better in person. It is.
I believe
This is the best promo card they have done by far.
He looks so much like Thanos in that picture.
he does. He looks so much like Thanos.
It's because he doesn't have the right color scheme.
All right. Well, thank you, Brad, for the comic book recommendations and for showing us this beautiful card. Brandon, I want you to talk about this magical list that you built for Dracula. If you want to, if you don't want to talk about it, talk about him. About his leadership and what kind of list you can build.
Yeah, so fun fact, a lot of good models give out bleed. I think you're gonna pretty much staple Blade to this model.
Uh-huh.
It just works really, really well. It makes Blade just a little bit better. And Blade's already really good. But other models that give out bleed and can play kind of what we were talking about, where you can play Attritionate and like Scenario, kind of gives you best of both worlds. You have models like Baron Zemo, you have models like Black Cat, Bullseye, Venom. So the thing we talked about earlier, Brad, while you were gone, there's only like 4 models that give bleed automatically. I think. Let me make sure. So
On a
5.
builder, that's not a
Yeah,
spender.
that you don't have to pay for. Yeah, so you have Blade, Venom, Carnage, Craven.
Sounds like a good
Yeah.
start to a list.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
also,
all.
Fred, the symbiotes are weak to fire.
Yes, the
I meant
symbiotes are
to
weak.
Yeah.
mention that during trivia.
Okay. Okay.
The so as that is like a base, like the auto bleed's really good. So like we have Dracula, Blade, Baron Zemo, Black Cat. I have Archangel and Bullseye. That was the 5 that I started with. I added the other monsters like Frankenstein's monster and Encantu. I think they're both really good and they give a lot of different play. The models that were fighting for that final couple spots, those final 2 spots, and Archangel's probably fighting in that, like, so like the models fighting for like the last 3 spots, like you have Archangel, Drax, Sabretooth, Venom, Craven. Don't play Carnage. It's not worth it. I did consider it because he does bring tactics cards, and the one thing this list is very much struggling on is tactics cards.
He brings two very good tactics cards.
Yes, getting the tactics cards from Frankenstein's monster.
Yep.
Adam. Not in Kansu's. You don't need to play that one. But like Sabretooth doesn't have one. The Apex Predator. Sorry, I did not specify. Sabretooth Apex Predator is the one that is in the list. I did also consider the other one, but Apex Predator has bleed all over his card. So, and then Drax's Builder. If they have bleed, you can reroll multiple dice. He also can give a wild bleed out. He also has a character throw. And his vengeance tokens, and he has damage reduction. I don't own Drax, which is kind of the problem. I don't own any of the Guardians. So Drax probably will not make my list because I don't want to buy that box just to play Drax. Even though it is the bane of Brad's existence.
Just borrow.
Yeah, I was
just
gonna say.
borrow him from Noah. Noah's not playing.
Not sure if Noah has Drax. We got most of the Guardians, but I don't remember if we got Drax or not. But yeah, a lot of good models can kind of really play with him. And again, you can kind of play multiple different ways once you're playing it. And you have a lot of options. And it's even funnier because when you get down to the secures and extracts that I have, it's like, oh, those make sense for like scenario play, and then it's like Infinity Formula and Riots, and then it's like Demons Downtown, and it's like, well, that doesn't fit with the other ones, and then it's kind of like the same thing. You have like Struggle for the Cube and Paranoia, and then it's like, then you have Montesi, and it's like that also doesn't really follow the rest of them.
You can't play Montesi.
Why?
Do you know what the Montesi formula is?
I mean, technically, I understand what you're getting at.
No, I do
Fred
not.
does not. So for Fred and the other listeners, the Montesi formula is a spell that kills all vampires on Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well,
And
then
we
you
can-
do
we
want to
can
play it, and you want to get those.
And destroy them.
Yeah, you want to take the books away from people.
Yeah. Oh, I
It's
see.
thematic for
yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
thematic.
But he
Yeah.
should not be the one to pick it. Your opponent should be playing it and trying to assemble the Montesi formula, and then Dracula and his cronies show up to stop you.
But like a core 15 of Dracula, Blade, Zemo, and Black Cat on Montesi, with the giving them a mystic attack against 3-4 defenses, and then Black Cat, just feels like it's really good, and they probably aren't planned for that. Mystic can really put dampers and stuff, and then you have like Encantu, who also has 4 mystic defense. So the list also heals a lot, like Venom, Sabretooth, Frankenstein's monster, Blade, and Dracula also heal a ton.
Whenever I
So.
feel like having a really bad time, Brandon, we can play that versus my Weapon X.
That doesn't
Oh my
seem
God.
super fun for you, but
No, that's why I said if I feel like having a really bad time.
yeah. I think there's a lot of play, and I think that you can build this list in like a ton of different ways. My initial build was to try to focus on Dracula as well as the leadership, and making sure he's never dead, and making sure that your opponent has bleed at all times.
Yeah.
A lot of the models that I chose also, they not only give bleed, they also have extra power a lot of the time, so it's not going to feel as terrible to spend 1 power here or there for the leadership to just give out bleed. But I feel like it's a really good start, but I do feel like there is a drastic difference between this leadership and, say, Emma's. Like, Emma, you can literally play anything. Like, when I had more free time and we were doing the well-laid plans, I think we did 3 episodes about Emma. Like, you can build that list a ton of different ways, and you can obviously build this a ton of different ways, but a lot of them are going to be much more ineffective than other ones.
Yeah, it's all going to be people who bleed. That's how you're going to build this list.
Bleed's important, and there's not a lot of, again, like we discussed, there's not a lot of auto bleed outside of like spenders. There's not many on builders.
Boy, howdy, you need to sleep. Go
Brandon.
take a nap.
Brandon.
Yeah.
On Saturday, I was practicing for you.
You were practicing for me.
Yeah. Anytime I couldn't do a second action, I shook bleed, even if I didn't have
Oh,
it.
I didn't have it. Just
Yeah.
practice shake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. It's kind of funny is because there are going to be games when you're playing against Dracula where you're shaking bleed and it's effectively stagger, which is hilarious.
Oh
You
boy.
may need to though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be the right play is going to be shaking bleed, and basically it's an effective stagger, and it's going to feel so bad because you know that you can just get bled again at like on the next activation.
Man, oh man.
I do
This
also want to play this model in Kingpin, but that's besides the point.
I really want to play Midnight Suns again with these guys, with the whole monster crew.
Well, they come
Okay,
out at the
well,
beginning of November, Fred. So right after that.
November 1st, the day
I'm
after
gonna buy them.
Halloween.
I'm gonna buy them. All right, well, let's move on. Uh, I the only thing that I have to there's a ton of stuff, obviously. I mean, Dracula is all over our literature, all over our movies. I'm going to do a little bit of a curveball, not really, but I'm going to recommend a movie and a TV show called What We Do in the Shadows.
Is it a
This is
Korean
a
Dracula show?
listen. If there was a actually there is a Korean vampire show. I've not seen it, but I know that it exists. But What We Do in the Shadows is a fantastic. Uh, it's the brainchild of Taika Waititi, so of course I'm a fan. And the movie is great. It has Jermaine Clement, it has Taika Waititi, uh, and
And
the
two other
TV show,
guys.
two other guys, whose names I am forgetting right now. And then the TV show is also great, although it has none of the same people. But it's basically the same thing, just an office style talk to the camera style comedy show, but it's vampires, and they are so divorced from reality that it's hysterically funny. I very much enjoy the show, and I highly recommend it.
Uh, the show and the movie are great. This is one of those times where you can actually listen to Fred.
Y'all should go see all these Korean reality TV shows that I'm recommending.
No.
They're great.
Normally, I'm not endorsing Fred's picks, but today I will. I really wanted it
All
to
right.
be Dracula Dead and Loving It.
That's a terrible movie.
That's why I wanted you to pick it, Fred.
It's Leslie. It's one of Leslie Nielsen's bad movies.
It's
There are a
also
couple of them.
it's also one of Mel Brooks' worst movies.
Yeah, it really is. All right. Well, that's it for our show today. Thank y'all for joining me, and thank you for listening to us talk about Dracula and how he is going to be an absolute nightmare for this game. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful week.